Hello again, my name is Mary Schmidt, and this time I'm doing a video about nothing. Did you hear that? What was that? Was that silence? I do like to be silent a lot these days. The more silent I am, the more I listen. Anyway, so I used to go to this place called Exodus, right? It's on 84th in Vermont in Los Angeles in South Central. Anyways, me and my friend Luther went there together, right? And we lived right next to each other in their transitional housing. We used to walk to Exodus every day and go to groups all day long. It was like everybody at that place had been in prison. Just about everybody. 99.9% of them. I think the only two that weren't in prison were me, Luther, and maybe Patrice. Yeah. Anyways, we were all at Exodus together, right? And every time they'd have a group, it would be like same thing. Drugs, alcohol, and prison. Everybody there had to talk about prison. Yeah, man, when I was incarcerated for 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, when I was out jacking this car, jacking that car, robbing that guy, mugging this guy, mugging that lady, stealing that old lady's purse. Anyways, whatever. They were all in prison for something, right? And every day it was the same damn thing. Drugs, alcohol, prison. So anyways, one day me and Luther, we were sitting in group, right? And I think it was like some girl named LaJoy or something was talking about her addiction days and how she's a work in progress and she's had like 3 months or whatever sober, and she hit the crack pipe a couple months before that, but she's clean and sober again. So anyways, so I looked over at Luther and he had kind of like this bored look on his face. He was like going like this. So anyways, to kind of shake things up and throw everybody off and change the subject, I started talking about this playwright named Tennessee Williams, right? But he's like this. I'm like, remember there was this guy named Tennessee Williams. He wrote plays back in the 50s. Everybody's like, was he in prison? I'm like, I don't think so. No. They're like, well, if it ain't about prison, we don't want to hear about it. I'm just like, okay. So anyways, I started talking about him anyways, just to get everybody a little rattled. And I was like, yeah, he was a pretty interesting guy. He wrote about stuff that was real taboo back then, like mental illness. But you see, it's taboo today. It's not politically correct. But anyways, I said he used to write about that stuff, right? And then Luther's like kind of perks up and he's like, oh yeah, I was in college a few years ago, and they had a video about Tennessee Williams, and this guy, this puke, was like had him on his talk show, right? And he's like, so let's bring out Tennessee Williams. So anyways, Tennessee comes walking out, right? And he sits down and is like, or before he sits down, he does this like really cool swish like this. Kind of like that. I can't do it the way he does it, of course. I'm not a Tennessee Williams wannabe or anything, but that's what he did. He like comes out with this like swish, swish, swish. So anyways, this puke is like, what about the alcohol, Tennessee? What about being gay? And Tennessee Williams like gives him this real evasive answer, right? Me and Luther were laughing about it. We were like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I wish I could have seen that, you know, and then we started like getting in this conversation, and the facilitator's like, okay, you two, that's enough. Back to drugs and alcohol. LaJoy, would you like to talk again? Yes, I would. It's kind of like that, you know, I mean, I mean, it was cool while it lasted, but nobody really wanted to talk about anything there. They just kind of want to talk about like nothing. So what did you just hear just now a second ago? When I just got all quiet all of a sudden, I'm just kind of like you heard nothing. Well, I didn't want to really say anything because it's kind of like a skill I picked up, a little acting skill. I'm not a professional actor or anything. I'm not very good at it, but it's something I learned along the way, and it's called like listening and reacting to stimuli. Like when one person says their line and you're getting ready to say your line, you have to have a little pause in between and to react to what they just said and listen to what they just said, and then kind of just take a breath, and then you go into your line. Anyways, that's just a little thing I picked up from acting books, or or classes or whatever I took in college, or I took some acting in college. I took a lot of writing. I'm not trying to brag or anything. I mean, I just know people are gonna watch this and like judge me and say, oh, she's a wannabe. She's a wannabe. A wannabe. A wannabe. Well, you know what? I'm not really wanting to be like anybody right now. I'm just trying to be myself and have some fun over the weekend, because I'm not out drinking or drugging or prostituting tonight. I'm just making this little video because I want to stay out of trouble. It's what I like to do. Me and my friend Luther, we like to stay out of trouble. We really do. And we left Exodus a couple months ago. Both of us did. And we're getting an apartment together, a 2-bedroom, and real nice place. We're not going to be on Section 8 or anything, or housing. We're just going to pay our own rent and stuff. And, we're just going to go to school and get our degrees and do what we were meant to do, So... Well, I mean, I'm not, it's just, I don't want to, like, justify myself why I'm making this video. I shouldn't have to anyways, because people make millions of YouTube videos a day, I just hope you, like, learn a little bit, you can learn something about literature, maybe, from the 50s. Tennessee Williams, he was a pretty interesting playwright. He wrote this play called The Glass Menagerie. It's about this girl who had a mental illness, and it was kind of based on Tennessee Williams' life. And her mother had all these gentlemen callers that she wanted to come home with them, and finally her son brought home Laura, a gentleman caller, and his name was Jim. And it was kind of a tragedy, actually, in the end, because she thought he really liked her and she had a crush on him since high school and stuff, but he told her he was engaged and kind of like ended it all there. And it didn't really it kind of left you hanging at the end, and that was so cool about that play, But I mean to have to read stuff like that is kind of intense. Like Death of a Salesman, that was like Willy Loman. He just kind of like, he wanted to continue on being the top salesman, but he was really kind of at the bottom, and he was burnout and stuff, and he was like getting ready to lose his house and everything, and his sons were kind of like dangling in the air, and he had these past unrealistic fantasies about his sons. So finally he just ended up committing suicide in the end, because he wanted to leave his kids and his wife something. John Malkovich was in Death of a Salesman, and he was also in The Glass Menagerie. He's an actor. He really is, He's a good method actor. He just kind of takes things from his own experience and uses it in the acting world. But Anyways, I tried to make this video as much about nothing as I possibly could. I mean, sometimes on YouTube, I don't know, I don't watch a lot of them, but I know people talk about what matters to them. And it's like, what matters to me is not being around a bunch of criminals. Because to me, I don't think alcohol and drug use is the same thing as mental illness. I think the two of them need to be separated, but that's just my opinion, so. You know, the biggest complaint casting directors get about actors is, I read this in a book actually, is that they don't listen. Like the director will tell them to do something and they'll do it their own way, or they won't say it the right way because they're not really interpreting the text either. And it's like, I don't know, a movie I really liked, I read the script to it too, it's called Brokeback Mountain. I noticed that, like, it was a story about two people who really wanted to be together, but because of circumstances couldn't. And I didn't really see it as, like, a couple gay cowboys in love and, just offensive. I didn't find it offensive at all, even though I'm not a, like, big believer in gay rights, but I still respected that movie because of the story. So, you give somebody a good enough story, they're going to eventually start respecting you just a little bit. Anyways, I'm Mary Schmidt, and this has been a video about nothing.